Welcome to another powerful episode on the Anxiety Guy podcast, my friends. Great to have you here with me for this podcast episode. Thank you so very much. This podcast is brought to you by the #1 anxiety recovery programs available online today at theanxietyguy.com. Head on over to theanxietyguy.com and learn more about these programs that will set you on the path towards healing. And my friends, in this podcast episode, we're looking at some of the ways to respond to our anxiety symptoms. And this is quite important because the way you respond to your symptoms will determine whether the subconscious mind and body believe that a particular experience or environment is safe or not. So responding is very different than reacting. Reacting we can think of as being an unconscious act, like frantically reacting to an anxiety symptom and going to Google your symptoms and asking people for reassurance and all that sort of stuff. That would be in the reacting department. Responding would be a conscious act and something that feels slightly unfamiliar, something that the inner child or subconscious mind doesn't necessarily want you to do, because what it prefers is that you keep doing what it believes has maintained your survival. So when you are frantic and when you are reacting to your anxiety symptoms, that just means that you're being led by the survival part of your brain. And so, this sympathetic system within us, the fight or flight, is constantly activated throughout each and everything that you do. So you in turn start to interpret everything as being a threat. This is when we start living in a place of suppression. We keep things inside. We avoid things. We use distraction action to get through our anxiety symptoms. But we never get to a point where we actually express, right? An expression can come in many different ways. When we start expressing, we give ourselves permission to feel better and feel different in certain scenarios. So in turn, what we're doing here is we're reteaching the body, right? We're reteaching the body. We're not allowing the body to dictate what the mind thinks. We're using the mind to dictate what the body thinks. And so we've got some options here, and I want to go through them because as you're going through your day, intuitively, I want you to focus on what you think is the best way to respond to your anxiety symptom in that moment. That's why you won't see me say, hey, this is the only way, right? This is the best technique there is out there. No, you won't hear me say that because every scenario, every challenge may present a different kind of response. And so you're going to find yourself one day thinking, oh, maybe it's this. Okay, then I'll do that. Or maybe it's this. And during this healing journey, we're going from one step on the ladder to the next. Every single step on that ladder of healing means that we have to learn a specific lesson from the last step. We have to implement things we didn't implement yet. We have to face things we haven't faced yet. That's how we climb that ladder to the top. So here are our options in terms of responding to an anxiety symptom. Firstly, we have the mental component, okay? And in today's world, we call it mental health, okay? When it comes to an anxiety disorder, we're told that our mental health has to improve. I believe the mental side of things sometimes can hit us at an emotional level, yes, but many times it doesn't, which only leads us to coping with our symptoms. So the mental side to me is a small part of a much bigger pie. But in the moment you're having an anxiety symptom, yes, you can think, Okay, how do I think about this symptom that's different than how I've been thinking about it? What words can I use that can move me from a place of thinking catastrophically to a place of feeling safe? Right? How can I think about this? What kind of perception can I give it in order for me to feel like I'm working with it? Remember, when you start to work with your symptoms, in turn, you're working with your body. When you work with your body, in turn, you're working with the biggest part of your subconscious mind, which is the body. Trauma is stored in the body. And so, yes, there are times where we have to focus on the mental aspect of things, changing our perceptions, using certain words in order to take us out of a state of franticness, to give the anxiety symptom a brand new meaning. A new meaning. When you can give that anxiety symptom a new meaning and feel the certainty within that meaning in your heart, believe me, you're on your way. You're on your way to true healing. The next way to respond to an anxiety symptom is verbal. Verbal. When somebody asks you something, right? And there you are experiencing an anxiety symptom. Well, you can verbally respond to that person differently than how you've been responding. Many times when a wife or husband comes home and the spouse is there experiencing an anxiety symptom, right? More often than not, it's this repeated way of feeling and responding verbally, right? And we want to break out of that. We want to break out of that state. So somebody asks you, hey, how are you feeling right now? And instead of going in that direction where you say, oh, it's been a tough day and so on and so forth, words are energy. Words are energy. So what you put inside of you and what you're putting outside of you is determined by what words you use. Okay, this is very, very important. So your verbal response in that moment can be different than your normal reaction, right? Oh, I'm having such a tough day. I'm having this dizziness. It's just not going away. I don't believe I'll ever heal. These are words that we hear quite often in the anxiety world. But the moment you verbalize something different and you say, you know what? I'm simply allowing the symptom to be there. Or, it's not as bad as it used to be. Or, I'm working with the symptom now. Or, I can see what my inner child is trying to tell me. Or, I can see how the symptom is connected to some kind of emotional suppression, some trauma that I haven't let go of yet. Or, yeah, I'm experiencing this symptom and there's a lesson within it that I need to learn. When you start to speak like this consistently, feeling will be attached to your words. And when feelings are attached to your words, that's what the universe reads. That's what your organ systems read. That's what all your systems read. They read your words. Okay? So this is very, very important, and it's important that you pay attention to your words and ask yourself, are these the words that are going to get me to where I want to go? Thirdly, you can respond behaviorally, okay? Very straightforward. Okay, you can take a different kind of action. Normally, let's say someone with panic disorder sits at the back of a room just in case. This time you sit at the front. Okay? Instead of not going to that party, you go to that party, you watch your speed, okay? You slow everything down, and you engage with people during the party. You don't run from things. You don't distract yourself from things. So you're taking a different kind of behavioral action. Okay? Then we have the physiological type of responding. Okay, you can do something different with your body. I mean, what does your body do in moments of anxiousness? What does it do? Have you ever paid attention to what your body does? Well, what's very important to understand with the physiological component is more often than not, if you do the opposite of what your body has been doing, eventually you're going to find yourself in a different place. and that's called inner peace. So what does your body do? Well, it tenses up. Okay, what's the opposite of that? Well, relaxing my body without taking anything for it, just using the attitude that I have, the new attitude. Physiologically, what else happens to my body, right? I start to speak faster. Okay, slow down your speech. What else? I start to drive faster. Okay, slow down the way you're driving. Okay, what else tends to happen? Well, what tends to happen with anxiety sufferers is they have a very shallow way of exhaling. Okay, when you inhale, that activates the sympathetic system, fight or flight. When you exhale, that activates the parasympathetic system. There's supposed to be a balance between the two, but when you suffer from anxiety, there isn't. There's a lot of inhale and no exhale. So physiologically, you can do the opposite now. You can focus on your exhale, lengthening that. You see, there are things that we can do physiologically, and there's no reason to ask, how do I do it? Okay? Because all you have to do is reflect on what you've been doing. Physiologically, how have you been reacting in those moments? As long as you know that, then you can start applying the opposite of those reactions and consciously respond. Responding is very, very important, my friends. You want to get a feeling like you're going through your day responding to your body. Okay, responding to what your body does. Of course, responding to the mental chatter as well, but I'm a big believer that when you fix the body, you fix the mind. It's a lot easier to do this rather than manipulate the body through the mind, right? We can either create a tug of war with our thoughts and always think about our thoughts, or we can start to apply different approaches, working with the body to affect the mind in turn, right? I mean, how many times in your life did you have a moment where you were so proud of yourself and you stood up, let's say on a stage, and you felt empowered with your shoulders back, speaking slowly and being in that present moment? Did you change your thoughts? No. But you did pay attention to what your body was doing. Therefore, you didn't really have any thoughts. You were in the moment. You were in what I like to call a flow state. And that's where we're going. We need to get to this flow state where we feel like as we go through the day, it doesn't feel like a fight. We're not fighting with our minds, our bodies, our spirits. We're not fighting with God. We're not fighting with different situations and people out there anymore. When you're in a flow state and you find balance within, you just don't feel like fighting anymore, so you don't. Okay, your ego diminishes, your inner child is at peace, and the meanings that you've had towards your traumas in the past have all changed. They're no longer traumas. They're just experiences. Are you there yet? Experiences, not traumas, just things that happened along the way. There's also an imaginary aspect to responding. You can sit there or lay down or stand or whatever you want to do with your eyes closed and imagining a different scenario. Remember, when there's a lot of feeling attached to something, some direction, you're most likely running some kind of a slideshow in your head. A slideshow of how the day's going to go. Many people wake up in the morning and they unconsciously imagine the worst happening all day long. Oh God, I'm going to run into this symptom the moment I walk through the door because that's how it's been. If Jody talks to me, oh goodness me, I'm going to have that headache, right? And I'm going to get dizzier, right? Maybe I'll have that panic attack during the meeting that I have. Okay, you're basically creating these self-fulfilling prophecies. So instead of imagining the worst, go ahead, close your eyes and imagine the best. I tell this to a lot of people. If you don't have any skill sets or you don't know what to do, just start running some better mental movies in your head. Okay? Because the language the subconscious mind, inner child understands is imagery. Imagery. Okay? And when you can find yourself really being more attached to the images that you're running rather than attached to this physical reality, you are changing your physical reality in turn. Okay, so in terms of responding, my friends, we have this. We have the mental way, verbal, behavioral, physiological, and imagery-based ways of responding to anxiety symptoms. Now, what's our goal? What's our goal? We have to have a goal. We have to shoot for something. Well, with the over 10,000 people that I've worked with around the world over the years and writing these books and doing the YouTube videos and podcasts, I've found that there's a place. There's a place that people enter into on the inside over time. You know what that place is? It's a place of inaction. Inaction. Inaction doesn't happen overnight. And when I mean inaction, I'm talking about the ability for you to leave something alone. In this case, your anxiety symptoms. These people, it's not like they don't get any bodily sensations or symptoms anymore. Sometimes they do. But these people who have worked on themselves, cleared their traumas, responded better, okay, and created a better picture of themselves in the future, these people get to a place where they no longer need to mentally respond, verbally, behaviorally, physiologically, imagery-based. It happens automatically. It happens automatically. You're not even consciously aware. You're leaving something alone. You're creating inaction, but in turn, there is an action being taken there. If you can understand this and tap into some times in your life where inaction has prevailed, a state of reflection or observation, then you understand where I'm coming from. These people have created so much trust in their ability to leave things alone. There are different forms of intelligences on the outside and on the inside. These intelligences are powerful, much more powerful than the mental chatter going on in our minds. And so when we leave something alone, we say, hey, you take it. You take it. I'm having a challenge right now, okay? You take it. Right? It doesn't matter to me if you believe in that body of yours or if you believe in God or nature or whatever it is you believe in. But inaction is the goal. What happens with inaction? Your fears subside. Your fears subside. The challenges subside. All the fears you've ever had in your life have all subsided. Have all subsided. Don't you realize that? Right? When are you going to look yourself in the mirror and say, you know what? I'm playing games with myself. I'm living comfortably fearful and I've had enough. So, you have these options now on how to respond to anxiety symptoms, okay? I want you to reflect on these, maybe listen to this podcast episode a few times, share it with some people that need it, because I know there are people out there that need this knowledge. And remember, we together are losing interest in what the inner child, subconscious mind has to say about the world. We're losing interest in that, and that's okay, because we're gaining interest in new ideas that are arising because of our progress. I promise you, you're on the right track. Understand this episode deeply, and again, share it with someone who needs it. Remember that you are more than anxiety. Thank you for joining me. I'll see you in the next episode. Bye-bye.
The most powerful anxiety guidebooks on true anxiety recovery are now available on Amazon. Pick up Beyond Anxiety and F Coping, Start Healing, and supercharge your healing journey today. Also visit www.theanxietyguy.com to connect with Dennis and find the right online program for you. Remember, you are more than anxiety. See you in the next podcast episode.